Is that at Albuquerque Uptown?
Yeah, Albuquerque.
I've seen it, I've never eaten it.
Testing,
Would you
1, 2, 3.
You like the food?
Yes,
You guys
it was.
here?
And we kind of chef, we sat like a chef. Yeah, he was excellent. He was like, I want these, bring me tomatoes, he says, these, give away. That's my chef.
So we have media packets that will distribute when you guys are, once the press conference is over, so just so you guys know. Ya'at'e, and welcome to the virtual press conference. Today you will hear from the Navajo Nation President, Dr. Buu Nygren, as he responds to allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and workplace mistreatment within the office of the President and Vice President that were alleged by the Navajo Nation Vice President, Rochelle Montoya. President Nygren will be fielding questions from the press who are present in the office, as well as questions from the Zoom participants. To the press, please state your name, organization, prior to asking your questions. The press conference will end sharply at 1:15. If you do need additional follow-up after the live broadcast, you may email our Office of the President and Vice President Legal Counsel, Ms. Candace Bagodi-Slim. Her email, which I will repeat, is cbagodi-slim@navajo-nsn.gov. That is cbegodi-slim@navajo-nsn.gov. Thank you.
President of Navajo Nation.
Please welcome the President of the Navajo Nation, Dr. Buu Nygren.
Good afternoon. I am going to begin with a prepared statement, then I will take your questions. I have set this press conference today to address several issues that are of grave importance to the Navajo people. The Vice President has made allegations against me and I intend to respond. This entire issue has brought the question of hostile work environments to the forefront of our attention. Before I respond to the Vice President's claims, I want to discuss the plans that I have to address workplace safety. Many people, especially our women, have stated that they have been harassed in the workplace. They feel that no one is listening. Men and women all over the Navajo Nation deserve better protections. They deserve a workplace that is free of harassment. To this end, I have examined Navajo laws on workplace safety. I have found that they are seriously lacking. Unbelievably, as this may sound, the Navajo Nation employees who have been harassed have only 20 days to make a claim. If they fail to act in those 20 days, they lose these rights. They used to have a full year, but the Navajo Nation Council changed this 10 years ago, and I find this unacceptable. In addition, any employee who has been harassed is limited in the kind of remedies they can pursue. If they have not lost any money, they may not have any remedy at all. At best, they will have a very limited remedy. Again, I find this unacceptable. I want to share with the Navajo people what I intend to do to strengthen the protections of the Navajo Nation employees. First, I am enacting a workplace safety policy for the Office of the President and Vice President. I have directed my staff to enact a first of its kind workplace safety policy for the Office of the President and Vice President. I am aware that there is the Navajo Nation Personnel Policies Manual, which has some protections. However, the manual does not go far enough to protect our people. We are working on a stronger policy. Second, I am calling on the Council to strengthen workplace safety. The Navajo Nation Council must use its legislative authority to strengthen the protections afforded to the employees on the Navajo Nation. This means, at a bare minimum, that there must be an official, bright-line definition of what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. This does not presently exist in our law. In addition, employees should again be given 1 year to file their claim. Employees should not be limited to economic damages, but should be able to recover damages similar to other tort cases in our courts. Finally, there should be mandatory penalties and stronger enforcement mechanisms for employees who are responsible for harassment. Third, I am calling on the Council to revise the Navajo Nation Personnel Policies Manual. The Council and the Department of Personnel Management needs to similarly revise the Personnel Policies Manual to mirror these protections in the law. Both the legislative and judicial branches should also carefully scrutinize their own policies to ensure workplace safety. Lastly, I am forming a commission on workplace safety. Abused workers need to be heard. This is especially true of our Navajo women. Many women feel that they have been the victim of workplace abuse and that no one will listen to them. I will direct the commission to have town halls around the Navajo Nation, which I will personally attend. My role there will be to listen to the victims of workplace abuse, tell their stories. Council members should also attend these to hear these concerns. The commission will make a final report to the Navajo people with further recommendations about the changes to the laws and the policies. People have claimed that there is a hostile work environment at the office of the president and vice president. The fact is, working in my office is a highly demanding job. It requires people to make personal sacrifices. When you look all across tribal offices, my staff are some of the first to arrive on the job and some of the last to leave. They work weekends, they work holidays. When it comes to work ethic, I demand excellence every day. The Navajo people deserve no less. I remind my staff that they are working for the people, and if that is not their goal, then they need to find something else to do. We are only here for a short time, and I need people working who are as committed as I am to give the people results. The executive staff at OPVP includes 20 women and 10 men. They range in age from their 20s to their 70s. Some are new to tribal government, while others have decades of experience in government and their profession. They are highly educated and highly experienced. Let me be clear, we do not act on Jeanette. I'm aware of only 2 complaints in my office. The first complaint was a sexual harassment complaint made by an employee against another employee. That complaint led to the immediate termination of an employee. That case was then and appropriately turned over to law enforcement. The other complaint came from the vice president. Last August, I asked the vice president to meet with me because I had learned that her marriage was ending. Given the level of trust I believe that we had, I was disappointed that I heard about this indirectly. I did this not to pry or invade in her privacy, but to offer my support and to emphasize that as a team, it is important for us to know what is going on. I assured the vice president that I would be equally transparent with her about any challenges in my own life. I believe the president and vice president must support each other, and I wanted to extend that support. During that meeting, she expressed concerns about her government-issued vehicle. I assured her that we would address this, and we did. She also asked me to reassign a person with an OPVP to the role of her executive staff assistant and to give her a raise. We did this. She has publicly stated that she should have more assistants. She did not state this in our August meeting, though I am willing and have been willing to listen to any proposal she may have. She has also publicly said that I made her feel disrespected and less than. I have had great respect for the Vice President. I have entrusted in her projects that are very important to me. They include chapter projects, missing or murdered Indigenous relatives, a review of our customer service practices within the tribal government offices, the Responsible Pet Initiative, oversight over offices including Miss Navajo, Dene Action Plan, Dene Youth Council. I gave her these responsibilities because of my respect for her. At the conclusion of the August meeting, I put one arm around her shoulder and I gave her a partial side hug to show my support for her, as I have done many times before. We have always embraced and addressed each other in the spirit of Ket as Nolly. She is my Nolly by clan. She never suggested to me that this gesture is in any way unwelcome or offensive to her. Again, we spent much time together on the campaign trail and in the office of the President and Vice President, and I believe that there was a lot of trust between us. This is the extent of the August meeting. There was no assault, there was no sexual content or advances of any nature. I am deeply disappointed and offended that this interaction has been taken out of context. It was only out of concern for her well-being. She claims I told her she could not leave. This did not happen. I have included in your media packets the written statement that the Vice President submitted last August. Her statement does not accuse me of anything sexual. It does not accuse me of any unwanted touching. She does not complain about sexual harassment in any way. I am deeply offended that I have been shamelessly slandered about this meeting. This has led to unnecessary confusion. The Vice President's statement last August did not support these accusations in any way. Her stories have been inconsistent and have changed over time. It is extremely disrespectful. It is extremely disrespectful to my grandmother, my late mom. It is extremely disrespectful to my grandmother, my late mother, my sister and nieces, my wife and my daughters, to falsely claim that I would abuse women. I did not disrespect the Vice President nor any other woman in my administration. I've been thinking about Rajon in the context of Navajo government. In order to help the people, Rajon must be restored. I invite the Vice President to join me in a peacemaking session. I would like to meet with her and a peacemaker to address these issues. Rajon must be restored for the good of the Navajo people. These false accusations have caused division, uncertainty, and unrest within the office of the President and Vice President, at the Council, and within our communities. I am proud to say that despite this uncertainty, our OPVP staff has remained focused on providing essential services to our people. The Vice President needs to be accountable to the Navajo people regarding her own conduct. I have signed off on travel where she is out of the office for days and sometimes weeks at a time. I have asked that she show some accountability by submitting travel reports, explaining how her travel supports the administration's priorities, and to justify the use of the people's funds and resources. She refuses to give me these reports. I ask this of all my cabinet members. I don't ask of the Vice President more than I ask of anyone else in my administration. The Executive Protection Team has also reached out to the Vice President to offer protection. She has declined this protection. OPVP staff members have offered her assistance. Again, she has declined. When staff have come to her office, she has rudely told them, "I don't remember inviting you into my office." She does not attend cabinet meetings or division director meetings. She does not share her schedule with me. She does not give me reports on her initiatives, nor has she provided progress updates on the initiatives that she has taken on. Generally, I have no idea where she is or what she is working on. The Vice President needs to be accountable to the people. I also want to comment briefly on the investigation initiated by the Attorney General, because I take concerns about workplace safety seriously. I agree with the Attorney General that an investigation is appropriate. The OPVP staff and I are cooperating fully with this investigation, and we expect the Vice President to do so as well. Other than to say the investigation has begun, I do not know its status. It would be inappropriate for me to interfere with the process anyway. I am open to any questions.
We will now field questions from the press that are in the office. First, we have Marley Shabala.
Mr. President, Marley Shabala yin shia tohi glini ishmo nanistasha adaneboshishi, and I'm representing. I'm a small businesswoman. Well, not small business, but a small business person, and I am a freelance investigative journalist. So my question is, do you have a copy? Did you receive a copy of the complaint that was filed by the Vice President and other employees? Have there been complaints filed?
As of today, there's only 2 complaints. One was the immediate termination of the employee because of the situation that happened with the receptionist, and that's within law enforcement right now to complete their investigation. And then the second was the report, the Vice President, and I'm going to make that available to everybody today in the media kit. So you'll have a copy of the Vice President's statement.
Okay, and is it possible to also get a copy of the Navajo Nation government's policies regarding sexual harassment and sexual assault, so we know the process?
Yes, we'll provide that as well.
And we are going to the next reporter on site.
Hi, Jody Wilson with the Gallup Independent newspaper. I understand there's been a lot of turnover in your office in the past year. My question is it protocol to do exit interviews?
At the moment, we do meet with our staff. Some of them, I know 4 of them were terminated, and the others, we tried to provide recommendations for them. They've either moved on to other divisions, departments, or they pursued other careers. But we try to continue to support them all the way through. Even with the termination, I tell them this is high demanding, high stress. We expect a lot from them. I know they've got family, they've got to make personal sacrifices. So we try to be as accommodating as possible when they exit OPVP as well too. So I know discussions do happen.
And moving on to the next reporter.
Christy Allen, Navajo Times. Good morning, Mr. President, or afternoon, sorry. The saying, women should not be in leadership.
In English, the question was, should women be in leadership? Result of that, there is going to be chaos and turmoil and things like that. As I've mentioned 2 years ago in August, when I selected the Vice President, I really believe in women leadership because I am a product of women leadership, and I will continue to believe in our women and in their leadership capacities. And as I mentioned earlier, I believe that the Vice President and I really need to come back together and restore Rajon. And that's where I'm offering the peacemaking session so that we can talk about this and really resolve some of these challenges and these issues that have led to today.
All right. And we have another question from another reporter.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Bodera Joe with Navajo Times as well. How comfortable is it within your office that employees or your staff members are to report, an incident or just a concern to you? How do you follow up with that?
I think that's exactly why we're here today. I know that's why I mentioned earlier in my statement that I want to develop a first of its kind policy for OPVP, for the highest level of executive staff working in the Navajo Nation government, so they know exactly where to go, what to do, how to report, and feel confident that their information will be confidential And that's what we look forward to doing I've already directed our staff to start developing that, because I believe it's going to end with this administration. We're going to make sure that there's a strong policy in place. So moving forward, any other administrations, they can use that policy.
We are back to Marlene Shabala, independent reporter.
Yes, Mr. President, could you comment on the resolution that Natani Development CEO Director is sponsoring to have you placed on administrative leave immediately while the investigation is being conducted? Or they want an independent investigation?
Thank you, Marley. What I know about the chapter resolutions is that it's being run by Greg Bigman. Obviously, a lot of you know he's a former presidential candidate, and he's a disgruntled employee who wants to be the CEO of Natani Development Corporation, and that the main focus there is trying to develop a fair, independent investigation, which I believe the Attorney General is already conducting at this very moment, and people are scheduled to be interviewed.
And a follow-up question regarding the commission. How involved will the people be with that commission? I mean, there are so many things that people want to be involved in. They say they want to be involved in planning, but then they're told, okay, you'll be involved in the planning. We planned these two plans, A and B, and you have an option of taking them. But that's not what they're saying. They're saying they want to be involved in the planning from the beginning, so that there's that trust that's built in there, that the people really are involved, which is a traditional concept.
Excuse me. Thank you, Marlon, for that question. I think when it comes to the commission, what's really important there is I really want an avenue for our women and our men who have been harassed in a workplace setting to have a place to voice their concerns. And right now, they don't have an avenue to do that. And so to have these town hall meetings all across the nation is very important. And then the level of involvement of people that want to volunteer and be a part of the commission. I think as we continue to develop the commission on practices and outreach and where we're going to have our first hearing meetings, that will definitely keep the general public posted with that. Because what's important through this whole process is that there are many women and men that feel like they have no place to voice their opinion. And some of them are past that 20-day mark because they're given 20 days when they're told to leave their jobs, that's all the time that they have, or they're out of luck. And that's where I want to be able to sit there and hear from them as well.
Do we have any other questions from the press and house?
We're going in-house first, sir.
And there are no questions on the Zoom. Does anyone on Zoom have any questions? We'll pause here for about 10 seconds if anyone on Zoom would like to enter any questions.
I do have,
Hi, it looks like there's one in the chat.
yeah.
All right, thank you, and we will go ahead and read the question here. All right, President Nygren. The question is from Susan Montoya Bryan from Associated Press. She is asking, for the reporters not in the room, can President, bear with me just a moment. So Susan Montoya is asking, President Nygren, could you speak to why you are making the statements now, even though the Attorney General's investigation is ongoing? Part 2 of that question is, what can you say about the timeline for developing the policy and getting the commissions going?
Okay. So first part is a great question, because when Vice President made her comments on the council floor, that was really surprising to me. And so my first initial reaction is I need to meet with the Vice President and we need to talk about these issues. So a meeting was scheduled, so the State of the Nation was on Monday. A meeting was scheduled Wednesday morning at 8:30 for me, myself, legal counsel, and a few others to meet with her. But Tuesday, she went on Facebook Live, made some serious allegations to where I had to step back, because she made allegations of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and we felt like it wouldn't be appropriate for me to meet with her, but we hoped that she was going to still meet with me at 8:30. The meeting didn't happen, and so I wanted to make sure everything was being reviewed, because this is the highest level of office on the Navajo Nation, and being accused by the vice president, I wanted to make sure we reviewed the laws, the policies, so that when a response came, it was appropriate, fair, and it came with solutions. As I mentioned earlier in my statement, I want to acknowledge that false accusations were made, but in hindsight, I want to come up with some changes to the law, create the policy, and at the same time, restore the relationship with the vice president through peacemaking. And then the second part of the question about the timelines for the policy, I know internal staff has already started the development of the policy, so I'm looking forward to weeks to have that completed, so that we can introduce that. And I really want to use that as a model, not only for the executive branch, but we can share that with our sister branches like the legislative and the judicial branch. And then when it comes to the commission, at the same timeline, within weeks, we really want to develop and appoint some strong individuals that really want to champion workplace safety. And that's what I'm looking forward to doing, is appointing people that have such a passion, possibly people that have been hurt, and really their lives that have changed, and they want to make it a better workplace for not only Navajo Nation government employees, but it's anybody within the boundaries of the Navajo Nation to have workplace safety, so they can feel safe about the environment.
Thank you, President. So we'll go ahead and go back to Krista Allen, editor of the Navajo Times, who is here on site. She has another question.
I don't know. I think that's a question you guys will have to ask. As I mentioned earlier in my statement, most of the time I do not know where she is. I don't ask her where she's going. I've tried to ask for reports and statuses, and just out of respect, I think sometimes I really see the best in our people, even if they've said things that they shouldn't have said. I try to remember that we represent such a large group of people that there's so much hurt out there that I really don't want to have those types of discussions. But again, that's something that you'll probably have to ask her herself, or reach out to her assistant as well, Josie Bowman.
Any follow-up questions, Krista?
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and take a question from the Zoom president. The question is from Bree Burkett from KNAU. The question is, have you spoken with the vice president since the allegations were made on Facebook?
I have not spoken with her. I've attended a few events with her, and a few fist bumps and handshakes, and that's about the extent of the interaction. I know that as I mentioned earlier, the meeting was scheduled. That didn't happen because of the ongoing investigation that's happening. And going back to, I think, Suzette's question as well too, that the investigation is currently underway through the Attorney General, and I'm not interfering or trying to take any part in that to try to disrupt it, but we're cooperating as we can. As I mentioned earlier, within myself, I'm cooperating, all the staff in the office is cooperating, and we really encourage the Vice President to cooperate as well too.
Thank you, President. We also have another question from Zoom from Arlissa Vicente from the Arizona Republic. Arlissa's question is, what will happen if the Vice President does not want to go through peacemaking?
I don't want to speculate. I want to continue to be hopeful that we can restore Hajjo and really work through some of the challenges and some of the issues that have been brought forth. And my hope is that I don't want to speculate. My hope is that we do go through the peacemaking process, and that we can continue to stand against all the social ills, the challenges that the Navajo people face.
Thank you, President. We have another question from Marley Shabala.
Mr. President, there was another very public allegations that were made regarding sexual harassment and sexual assault. And those were made against the CEO of the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. Are you going to be doing anything about that to address that sexual assault and sexual harassment?
Thank you, Marla, for sharing that question. I know I've seen it on the Gallup Independent. I've heard about it. And again, as president of the Navajo Nation, I'm not the judge and jury, but I do know that if the jury, end of the day, if he's found that he's done those horrendous or terrible things, then you can expect from my office to fully support, to put pressure on the board of directors for the highest amount of leading to termination and everything related to that. So in terms of trying to interfere with that, I don't want to be judge and jury, but if he's found guilty, then of course you're going to see all the pressure from my office for his termination.
The reason I'm asking that is that there has been no investigation launched, and it seems like they're just picking and choosing of what sexual harassment and sexual assault complaints will be supported, not supported, put out there. I don't know what, but these individuals are all suffering the same type of trauma. So is there anything you can do? Can you call for an investigation? Tell the board, what are you doing? Why are you not doing anything?
Definitely, I think that I want to get a full status update on it as well, but I know that the gentleman to my right is obviously an associate's attorney as well too, so definitely really want to continue to make sure that we're right there. But again, I don't want to be judge and jury, but we can definitely ask the question of updates and really moving forward as well.
Okay, and reporters in the room, do we have any other questions? And reporters on Zoom, any other questions? All right, so we will go ahead and listen to President Nygren's final statement.
In closing, there are a lot of lies and misperceptions out there about what happened based on what the Vice President has said about me. This has hurt a lot of people. It has hurt me, my family, the OPVP staff, our Navajo people, our council delegates, and our nation. These matters must be handled delicately and truthfully. This meeting that she is discussing occurred when she was going through a lot in a rough time. I was attempting to show her support. I never sexually harassed or sexually assaulted the Vice President or have disrespected her or have done anything she's accused me of doing. I want to restore Keh because that's what leaders do. As a leader, the people needed to hear directly from me, and I have proposed a number of solutions to keep all the people safe. The Kui Goshiba Hotas do Penny Natchet, Hala Hot, the Lebanon Adani, a Kate Hasatahagi Tree, La Hate Order, the Yitel Chit Hat no, Bekat I Nida Hat non died the Kidigi, Horoshi San Kitchen Wish Saddles, Eto At Zagos Sad Dadga, She Horobe Sizigi do Sani Hot or Bansis Case, the Dodo Sani Hot or Kid Schlichter, Eshiba Hodan or Sinnet, or what ended. Horoshi Obakatish, what AI is it in the heat Argent, to her job is a Havnet, Horohit all on the Katish, what George Joshing, Yegun Chinahui, none given in the case is neither let no, what all, that August sent down what all, Tassit lean them, Aro Horobaya Tagi, a strange hot all shana hold and the Shohoronat Aban Saha case not Arnie Jelon, at any hate all Hajo, he indeed, as though Hajo, the Nebach in Nahui, Nanigiro, the Nebach in Nahot Egi, the Kidjo do Lech, Nanigi, Ebony Nache, Hajo, Heda, as Niro, Nahaado, as Niro, Hajo, Di Banahat Enigi, Banda di no, Ehoroba Hasti. Do not answer ish lagi the Kui Goshi the never Washington Benaz Mishgibich Nahote to Eashide Shandaz Mishgida Hajona Sos had those Nito Bikahoda in Nish to the adult Beshpa has anti Kui Goshi Behes Ani that the Casiego it that there's no Dobeketa Ashido Apahazino the Inisho Ehot Oe the never Washington has mission Lenigi Bahayado they no. Horo sad get you wish started. Eshibe, Papa no sin that Horoya, the Neverland arm get your heart see that have gone it.
Thank you, and we will now conclude the press conference.